Kunja Bihari Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Balabha Girivardhari Gopi Jana Balabha Girivardhari Gopi Jana Balabha Girivardhari Jasodanandana Brajajanaranjana Jasodanandana Brajajanaranjana Jamunatira Vanachari Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Balabha Girivardhari Gopi Jana Balabha Girivardhari Balabha Girivardhari Jasodanandana Brajajanaranjana Jasodanandana Brajajanaranjana Jamunatira Vanachari Jamunatira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Vishnupad Paramahansa Parivijagacharya Astakara His Divine Grace Desi Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Gaur Bhaktivinoda Ki Haribo Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya This morning is text 18 from Canto 10, Chapter 6, the killing of the demon Putana. Balam chatasya urasi Kridantam akuto bhayam Gopyas turnam samabhyetya Jagrahur jata sambrama Balam chatasya urasi Kridantam akuto bhayam Gopyas turnam samabhyetya Jagrahur jata sambrama Balam chatasya urasi Kridantam akuto bhayam Gopyas turnam samabhyetya Jagrahur jata sambrama Balam chatasya urasi Kridantam akuto bhayam Jagrahur jata sambrama. Ladies. Balam chatasya urasi Kridantam akuto bhayam Gopyas turnam samabhyetya Jagrahur jata sambrama Balam chatasya urasi Kridantam akuto bhayam Gopyas turnam samabhyetya Jagrahur jata sambrama Balam cha, the child also, tasya, of that, Rakshasi Putana, urasi, on the upper portion of the breast, kridantam, engaged in playing, akuto bhayam, without fear, gopyaha, all of the cowherd women, tornam, immediately, samabhyetya, coming near, jagraho, picked up, jata sambrama, with the same affection and respect they always maintained. Translation. Without fear, the child Krishna was playing on the upper portion of Putana Rakshasi's breast, and when the gopis saw the child's wonderful activities, they immediately came forward with great jubilation and picked him up. Srila Prabhupada's purport. Here is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. Although the Rakshasi Putana could increase or decrease her bodily size by her mystic abilities and thus gain proportionate power, the Supreme Personality of Godhead is equally powerful in any transcendental form. Krishna is the real personality of Godhead because, whether as a child or as a grown-up young man, he is the same person. He does not need to become powerful by meditation or any other external endeavor. Therefore, when the greatly powerful Putana expanded her body, Krishna remained the same small child and fearlessly played on the upper portion of her breast. Shad Aishvarya Purna. Bhagavan, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is always full in all potencies, regardless of whether he is present in this form or that. His potencies are always full. Parasha Shaktir Vivadaiva Shruyate. He can display all potencies under any circumstance. So, several things. I want to read very interesting commentary. Tenth Canto commentaries by Vishwanath and Jiva Goswami commented on this verse. Vishwanath writes, Putana's chest was raised like a hill, suitable for playing on. Entering the maternity ward, the gopis could not see Krishna there. Parentheses, Yashoda and Rohini had fainted. Desiring to see him, they went outside the house and saw him playing on Putana. Jiva Goswami, also interesting. The gopis around Yashoda, understanding that the demon killed children, left Yashoda and Rohini, who had fainted, and ran, took the child from the dead body, and returned to the house. Their affection for him increased on seeing that he was playing happily on her breast. Because he was a child, he had no fear. But actually, he made others have no fear as well. Seeing his moving his hands and legs as if dancing while situated on her breast, they became astonished and overjoyed. Jata Sambramata, Sambrama, overjoyed, astonished and overjoyed. They then went directly, Samabhyetya, and climbed up on the huge corpse lying on the ground and took the child away. Since they all had natural affection for Krishna, they developed great power to do this. Remember, he's on a hill. It will be described that they knew how to perform protective rituals with nyasa. That's 2 more verses later. It's a mantra, nyasa. It's a procedure for executing rituals. It's part of the procedure, preliminary procedure. And they, although the gopis, they knew. It should be understood that these gopis were the same age as Yashoda, since they protected Krishna with the affection of a mother. In other words, they weren't young gopis. They were the same age. So many different relationships with Krishna, of course, even amongst those gopis, different relationships. We'll start with this word, Sambrama. It's B-H-R-A-M-A. Brahma. Brahma means, it's one of the 4 defects of a conditioned soul. Which one is that? Huh? Huh? I can't hear. Yeah. So, And they're in this some Brahma, completely illusioned. But Prabhupada has translated it as, with the same affection and respect they always maintained. That is to say, they could not see his divinity. They were illusioned. Conditioned souls are illusioned by the external feature of Yogamaya, that is Mahamaya, and the residents of Vrindavan were illusioned or deluded by the internal potency Yogamaya, and thus they could not see his divinity. So they had a transcendental Sambrahma, or transcendental, as the commentary of Jiva says, astonished and having great affection. Sambrahma. Their affection overwhelmed them, and so they couldn't see Krishna as he really is. Then Prabhupada's emphasis is upon the unlimited potency of Krishna, regardless of the form that Krishna takes. That's a very important, very, very, very important understanding, and it's part of the glory of the Putana pastime. That even though he was just still in the maternity ward, he was tiny. I mean, think of seeing a child that's just a few days old. How tiny. And how tiny their little fingers, and how tiny their little legs, and tiny their little hands, tiny their little bodies, very tiny. And in that form, just as he exhibited in the prison house of Kamsa, this very same night he was born, unlimited potency. So the statement here is, regardless of the form, unlimited potency. And unlimited potency means unlimited. What's the limit of unlimited? There isn't any limit. Now, in contrast, Rakshasi, Putana, by some procedure or other, we don't know, some austerity, presumably, something or other, to get mystic power. And by mystic power, she could make herself really big, which she did, and proportionately having some power to do her dirty business. But Krishna didn't have to. He could, but he didn't have to, because whatever he does, it's just his pastime. And if he had assumed a gigantic form like hers, then what would the gopis think? So he didn't. He just maintained a small, childlike, infant form. And so the Parasya Shakti Vivadaiva Shruyate. This is a Shruti mantra, not, in other words, impersonalists, those that like the Shrutis and don't so much like the Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita, they prefer the Shrutis. Here's the Shruti saying the absolute truth, that from which everything comes, has unlimited potency. Now, impersonalists deny that. They just, I don't know how they overlook that one, but because if you have potent and potency, then you have two things. And right away it nixes the impersonal conception. You've got two things. You can't have two things if you're an impersonalist, so there's only one thing. There's only one thing. And so that, you know, the potencies are illusion. And illusion doesn't exist, and so no potencies. Circular reasoning. So the other part of that verse, Parasya Shakti Vividaiva Shruyate Swabhavaki Jnana Bala Kriyacha. In the second line, Jnana Bala Kriya, there's the Kriya, Kridantam, engaged in playing. Kriya means activity. Kridantam, he was playing. Spiritually. And Bala means strength, like Balaram, Bala. And Jnana, he was fully cognizant, not like a child. How cognizant is a child? To agree, cognizant, but not like a mature adult, but fully even in the child. So, Kriya, Bala, and Jnana. And those are his spiritual potencies, and the spiritual potencies have their material counterpart. What does that mean? We can say it the other way. Every material potency has its spiritual counterpart. Everything here has its spiritual existence in the spiritual realm. One example, perfect example, is when Lord Brahma, Canto 2, Chapter 9, when Brahma, in his performance of austerity, comes to see the Supreme Personality of Godhead, not just realize in his heart knowledge, that also, but he saw the Personality of Godhead. And he went directly before the Personality of Godhead in the word that's used as Yogapith, and the cynosure, the center of spiritual creation. Center of spiritual creation. And there he saw, it just gives numbers, the 16 and the 5 and the this and the that. Those 6, then in the purport, Prabhupada explains which are the 16 and which are the 5 and which are the different numbers. These are the spiritual counterpart of what we find here. I'll say it one more time because it's important. Whatever exists here has its spiritual counterpart. Whatever is there within Krishna has its material counterpart. Whatever is here in the material world, it's from Krishna. It's inseparable. But he's the energetic, and these are the energies, and then there's the spiritual counterpart. Now, if you're an impersonalist, you don't like that. He doesn't have energies. And if you're not clearly educated, you think the pastimes of Krishna are mythology, even if you're a theist. God becomes neutered if you don't have proper education. So how could it be? God said, let there be light, and so it was, and it was good. Well, there's a little more to it than that. That's okay, not wrong. But there's more detail, and the detail, this Jnana Bala Kriya, I learned this from very careful study of Brahma Samhita, and it goes like this. For the purpose of creation, there's a period of time of cosmic annihilation. All the living entities are within the body of Mahavishnu, and in a distance is Pradhan, or Chaya Devi, the maid servant of Mahavishnu, and he wants her to have some service because she's idle and she wants to be engaged in some service. She's his devotee, although she's the external energy who is the counterpart of the internal energy. Rama Devi is the internal energy, and this Pradhan or Chaya Devi is the external energy. So he's glancing at her, and we hear the living entities are then transferred to the glance by Ramadevi, along with the time energy. So there goes jnana, because living entities are conscious, and there goes the time energy. It doesn't mention specifically Kriya Shakti, but it's there. All three potencies, for the purpose of, to have material creation, you have to have all three, and he has all three, and have the spiritual counterpart and this material counterpart. So there's Kriya over here, there's activity, there's time over here, but it's not eternal time. And there's Bala, material strength, but it's not spiritual strength. And there's knowledge, but it's not the same as spiritual knowledge. It's, according to Ishopanishads, in the category of avidya. But the energetic living entity covered by Maya exhibits avidya. And vidya is to be awakened by sound vibration, ultimately by bhakti. The mature stage is not just vidya, but vijnana, full realization and experience. And that's, so we're hearing Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10, Chapter 6, where the first of the demons that Krishna encountered and destroyed takes place when he's just a few days old. But the purpose of that, besides he could do in so many ways to annihilate Putin and all the other ones, because he has unlimited potency, but he does it in such a way he's reciprocating the natural love that rests in the heart of each and every devotee. So we're hearing specifically about the elder gopis, and there's some detail that Vishwanath and Jiva Goswami provide. They went to see Krishna, and they didn't find Krishna. Instead, they found Yashoda, and Rohini fainted. And then they heard that this demoness who kills children is the one who took Krishna. So they're panicking, and they ran outside, and they see this gigantic body. Now imagine if you were an ordinary person, you saw this infant is gone and there's gigantic body. It'd be shocking. Yes? But the explanation given by Jiva is akuto bhayam. Bhaya is the last word in the second line. Kridantam akuto bhayam. Bhaya means fear, and akuto bhayam, it means without fear. So Krishna was without fear, but Krishna was also influencing the gopis to be without fear. Kridantam akuto bhayam. He was playing, and he was creating the situation where they became fearless, because there was a pastime he wanted them to participate in. And when they saw him in this fearless state, with his hands and legs alike dancing, although how can you like dance when you're a few days old? But Krishna can. So we don't know exactly how. The paintings show he was crawling, but even crawling, children that are a few days old don't crawl yet. But Krishna was like dancing. And so they didn't undergo some mystic process so they could do mystical things and get mystic power. Because the message we heard is because they're pure in their devotion, they were given the power to do what ordinary women cannot do: climb the mountain, and take the body of Krishna from that mountain. and bring the little baby body of Krishna back to the house, the compound where the maternity ward was within the palace of Nanda and Jasoda. And then coming up, but Jiva Goswami mentions it, they also knew, they engaged brahmanas, but they also knew the nyasa process, this process of purification. And then the conclusion is that they were of the same age as Nanda and Jasoda, and the reasonableness of that statement is they had a protective mood. So that's their rasa. They have parental affection. They want to protect the small child. So they were jubilant because Krishna wanted that. Of course, he could have been the other way. And maybe there were some gopis that were horrible. But in this case, mentioned specifically, they were jubilant. What do people understand about Krishna that don't have disciplic succession? Either they don't understand and know that they don't understand, or think that they understand, but they're using material yardsticks to understand that which can't be understood by that method. So they reach wrong conclusions. We're so fortunate to have these Bhaktivedanta purports, and in turn the commentaries of our predecessor acharyas to understand. And at least this, in principle, the personality of Godhead has unlimited potency. This is Bhagavat Sandarbha Jiva Goswami. We cannot possibly understand God without accepting, in principle, he has unlimited and inconceivable potency. And once that's understood, then there's the ability to understand him. Of course, what does unlimited and inconceivable mean? Even that, ordinary people don't have any sense of what that is. So through association of great souls, primarily our founder Acharya and predecessor Acharyas, we can have some beginning understanding and love for Krishna. That's where all of this is taking us. That's what the Bhagavatam is doing. It's disclosing. We have the Mahamantra, and to properly chant the Mahamantra, according to Haridas Thakur, we have to have understanding of Sambandh again, the relationship of everything in relation to the source of everything. So both material and spiritual. Otherwise, the chanting of the holy name won't be full. And so we combine the two, of necessity, Sambandh again, and the holy name. And the Srimad Bhagavatam is not different than Krishna, as the holy name not different than Krishna. So it's a seamless duet, a combined or parallel structure to help us get to the goal. So we should chant very carefully, we should hear Srimad Bhagavatam very carefully, and on the strength of whatever goes in, render our devotional service and progressively unfolding our innate love for Krishna, whatever that mature stage may look like. We have the perfect process, perfectly guided with the perfect resources. It's joyful. So, any discussion? Yes.
Thank you, Guru Maharaj. To understand this explanation that you give of everything that is here in the material world has the counterpart.
Why don't you hold the microphone with another hand, because you're talking, gesturing with your hand with the microphone.
Oh, okay. No, it's fine. So to understand the statement of having a counterpart of everything that we experience here in the material world,
yeah,
in the spiritual world, especially how can we understand and also explain vices and all kinds of terrible things that we see here that comes, that grounded in certain things, the counterpart in the spiritual world.
This is the perverted reflection. Krishna kills Putana. In doing so, he liberates Putana. It's perfect. She's in this terrible demoniac. Who knows how many lifetimes of vicious, and so he's delivering her through an act of an appropriate act, etc. But it's perfect and pure. Everything. Like, look, spend so much time discussing multiple times the pastime of Lord Nrsingadev coming. And he's killing. And he's angry. And there's transcendental anger. And it's pure. It's elevating to everyone. Everything that exists has a spiritual counterpart. So here is the perverted reflection. It's not elevating. It's the modes of nature. Passion and ignorance plus.
You have an example of envy? An example of envy?
Yeah. You want an example of envy? Lord Nrsingadev, it says specifically right in the Bhagavatam. One of Krishna's names. Madhusudana. Excuse me, not Madhusudana. Madhudvisa. Dvisha, Raga Dvesha. Madhu, Dvisha. You heard this explanation, right? Prabhupada explaining to Madhudvisa Maharaj what his name meant. Madhudvisa Prabhu. How can Madhu be envious? In Prabhupada's explanation, within Krishna's everything. Within the Absolute Truth is everything. So it's a pure state of that. Now, sometimes we say everything here has its counterpart in the spiritual world except for envy. And here's where Prabhupada is saying, within the personality of Godhead, Madhu Dvisha is one of the names of the Supreme Lord. But pure. not contaminated. There's a spiritual counterpart to everything. And there's a material counterpart to everything of the spiritual world. As above, so below. And it's not... So, we're advised mode of goodness. But there's Shuddha Sattva. Just like the residents of Vrindavan or Vaikuntha. There's transcendental sense of competition, but not the material competition, the material envy kind. So, there's the pure state of everything. And there's a material counterpart of everything that's of the spiritual world. Narottam Das Thakur speaks about this, and Prabhupada refers to him speaking about this, and he details and gives examples. Anger, Hanuman. So everything has its utility in Krishna's service. And when people that are moralists see a transcendentalist or Krishna in Shuddha Sattva engaging in something that looks to them not the mode of goodness, they spin out. One has to be very careful about using things in Krishna's service. Anything. What to speak of anger or something like that. If you're not in Shuddha Sattva, then you're going to be, controlled by the modes of nature. So that's what, in one sense, what dovetailing is. But it has to be under the authority of Krishna and not otherwise. Right? Like violence. The Kshatriya sometimes, according to codes of Dharma, has to. But not otherwise. And that's adharma. And people that don't have character, they get the power to be violent. It's really bad. So, that's the material world. The contaminated, not the pure. Vishvaksena, you've heard his name? He's in Vaikuntha. He's the commander-in-chief of Lord Narayana. Now, who needs a commander-in-chief in Vaikuntha? There's nobody to... But there he is. Anything else? Yes.
Maharaj, we were talking about being fearless.
What?
Like, talking about being fearless. Fearless.
Fearless.
Yes.
My hearing is terrible. Fearless. Okay.
So, I have noticed that it is very easy to get scared in the material world. Like even small things create a lot of fear. So, is it the right understanding that the more we surrender, the more we become fearless?
Yeah. Where does fear arise from? You've heard me say this probably dozens of times. Bhayam dviyam aviniveshitaksha. So when one is thinking of oneself in the bodily conception, there will be fear. Fear arises from that. Abhinivesh, absorption in the temporary, the body and the bodily conception of life. Fear is there. Fear arises from that place. And the antidote, you're saying surrender, specifically it's hearing, and then surrender to the sound vibration, and that's the remedy. So then one requires the association of pure sound vibration. So specifically it's those who make pure sound vibration. We need sadhu, sangha. And then, yes, so a shorter version is just to the degree that we surrender. But surrender to what? And, the sound vibration coming from the transcendental realm, vibrated by those who vibrate transcendental sounds. It's Krishna. We're surrendering to Krishna through the medium of sound vibration and those who vibrate that sound. Then the bodily conception is removed. The whole bhakti awakens. The whole of the subtle covering, including false ego, disappears, and one knows who one is, and knows who is Krishna, and there's fearlessness. Vaikuntha. So, okay. Until we get there, we're going to pass through patches, at least, of a little spike of fear, even little things. Yes.
Hare Krishna. Maharaj, I heard about an upcoming Hindu Congress and...
A which? Hindu Congress?
Yeah. So, in the modern world where most people have an impersonal conception of Hinduism,
yes,
sometimes it's difficult to expose the erroneous doctrines and at the same time give a good impression, because if you put down someone in the spiritual sense, the New Age movement, that's not what we do.
Swamiji, you're so harsh. The sadhus are so placid. Of course, yes, it's certainly a challenge to leave a good impression while you're telling somebody they're a fool. Bhadranayan Swami often quotes his father. I've heard it maybe 20 times. My father said diplomacy is telling somebody they're going to hell, and they're happy to hear it. Telling somebody they're a fool, and they think it's very nice. No, but Prabhupada could do that. Not, of course, some people didn't like to hear. You know that little Your Ever Well-Wisher section where the video of Prabhupada in the garden in Los Angeles, and there's a whole bunch of professors sitting there, and Swamiji, you use this word fool and foolish, very harsh. Can you take another word? Like mistaken? And then foolish is a summation of all mistakes. Smiles, and they sat there, they didn't get up and walk away. Now some would never go there, and some, but Prabhupada drew the line. And he had the spiritual potency, but some people, anyway, so it's very, very challenging. I remember seeing a video. Later I read the transcript, but I saw the video of Srila Prabhupada sitting together with Guru Nanak. Anybody here not know who Guru Nanak is? He's the head of the Sikh community. He's revered amongst the Sikh community. He was a contemporary of Prabhupada, Guru Nanak. They revere him today, like we revere Prabhupada. Those who are Sikhs, they revere Guru Nanak, and they were contemporaries. So they were seated together, both on a large, appropriately honorific seat, and is it Guru Nanak? Is that the right name? Yes? Yogi Bhajan. Thank you. Yogi Bhajan. Guru Nanak is the predecessor, one of the predecessors, Yogi Bhajan. Thank you. And so Yogi Bhajan said, Swamiji, you are a very great spiritual leader in today's world. There's so much need of peace. There's so much disruption and war and violence. Why don't you and I get together? And he put his hand in the air and bring people together and love one another. Prabhupada interrupted him and said, they will never. Yogi Bhajan, in his point, I don't recall what he said after that, but in general, it cannot happen without accepting the personality of Godhead at the center and taking shelter of him and serving him and worshiping and loving service to him. They will never. No, it's not that Prabhupada didn't preach Krishna consciousness, because they will never. But he was making a statement. It's not just bring people together and say love one another and hocus pocus. It's not like that. It's the challenge is great. So, I'm going to end. Thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.